What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about who's most and least likely to die in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I thought this would be a fun video to rank almost these characters' probability of dying. I want to start with the ones that I think are the most safe, and I'm going to throw, obviously, Cal's name immediately at number one. Boy, would it be something to kill off the main character and then to have somebody else, I guess, be playable in the third game, but ultimately, this is Cal's journey. I don't want that. I want to play as Cal through the 3 games. Let's get him as powerful as humanly possible. And then at the end of the third game, we'll see what they do with him. I wouldn't be opposed to him dying at all. I think some of these characters need send-offs versus having them around in like 15 projects over the next, 20 years. I think it'd be okay to retire some of them permanently, but we'll see what happens. And now I feel like a close number 2, I want to put BD1. I feel like killing BD1 would be a mistake, but I also think after Cal, any of these characters are technically possible. Now, the first thing I probably think too is like the gameplay implications for a sequel. BD1 is very prominent in terms of your arsenal, in terms of always being with you, scanning, the kind of jokes, quips that kind of go back and forth between these two characters. I don't know if you'd be able to replace, because literally that's just kind of what you get with having a droid, on your back kind of at all times. Not having that would be very, very different. I could see them doing things where you're separated from BD1. They did that already in Fallen Order, so I could see that being a reoccurring theme, but I just don't see, BD1 being killed off, at least in the second game. Now, after those two, I think the list becomes much more difficult. So let's go through the characters that we have at our disposal in general, and then we'll try to rank them. We have Seer, we have Grease, we have Bode, the new character, one of the companions, we have Marin, we have the unnamed gray-haired individual, right, with the lightsaber, and then we also have our primary villain, at least as of right now. It's either Ravis or Ravis, however you want to say his name, but those are really the candidates that we have left. So I do think Marin would be next up in terms of most safe, right? So if it went Cal, then BD1, then I would put Marin. This would be heartbreaking. This would be a really, really big one. I think there's not only a lot of fans of Cal and Marin together, but also just a lot of fans of her in general. So I think eliminating her would be a tough one. I do think it's possible some sort of, sacrifice kind of role, which we'll talk about, because I do think a lot of these characters, a sacrificial kind of thing, could make a lot of sense, right? Like they're doing it for a greater cause. But, having her be a companion, and we don't know how many other companions there'll be besides the 2. We only know her and Bode right now. Sayer may be one, but we don't know that for sure. I just think there's probably more you can continue to do with Marin. I think kind of having her around would be better than not having her around. So now the rest of the characters, in my opinion, are actually very, very close to each other. I think any of them can die and it can kind of be interchangeable, except for maybe some outliers. So the outliers, I would say, would be that Ravis, right, the villain. I do think, he's going to die. Now, he's a tough breed. There's been videos that have been made about him, right, the kind of species that he is. He regenerates. He's actually almost like impossible to kill. So how you kill him, not exactly sure, but he is the villain, and I just can't imagine him making it out. So I easily would think, would go that way. The gray-haired, maybe it's a High Republic Jedi, whoever it is, that one really is a coin flip, because I feel like it's going to be set up where you want him to be an ally, right? I think that's kind of clear by like watching him in the tank, that you're hoping that when he wakes or you wake him or, whatever, that he's going to be an ally to you. He's going to help you out, but he's actually going to maybe be more of like a villain. So I'd say that's probably like the trajectory of him, but that doesn't mean he can't be brought back, right? I mean, they've already, well, number one, Star Wars is about that, kind of going back and forth with like light and dark and fighting it off and all that. But honestly, you even look at Fallen Order with Trilla. I mean, one of the main themes, right? So Trilla is a character, the villain, but she gets, I guess, in a way, quote unquote, redeemed in the end, the forgiveness kind of element. And so that happens. So they've already done that. Now, would they do that again with this character? I guess what I'm saying is if he stays the villain, there may be no choice but to take him out. If he becomes an ally again at the end, I could easily see him carrying over right into the next game. He would be safe. Then you have Bode, Grease, and Sayer, and those 3 I really do think are all kind of equal probability. So Bode, the new character, right, this kind of bounty hunter-esque guy, and a companion. So, we have him and then we have Marin. I do think, him kind of being new blood, that doesn't mean he has to stick around. He could be somebody that you kind of grow to like throughout the game. You like using him as your companion, and then bam, he dies at the end of it. Considering he is a companion, and so in a way like a helper, like quote unquote, I do think how he would die would be in some sort of sacrifice to save Cal. Yet again, I could say the same thing with the other two. So if I'm going with my gut, I gotta say one of the two, Cere and Grease, would be the ones that die. I kind of lean more towards Grease, but honestly, if I'm fully going with my gut, I'm actually gonna predict Cere. I think the way they're going about her character, kind of like almost outcasting her in this game, that you kind of get the sense in the trailers, I feel like she's almost gonna be reluctantly pulled back. She's maybe gonna teach Cal like one final lesson, like that kind of cliche, which is not a bad cliche, but that kind of idea where, she wants to do her own thing. They're not getting along. In fact, we know that, right? Like they don't see eye to eye in how to rebuild the Jedi or how the Jedi operate. So they're not at odds, but they're not really working together. So I do think she'll be brought back in, maybe teach Cal one or two more lessons, and then maybe some sort of sacrifice at the end. She's kind of like a master, like an adopted master, right? She's not technically his original master, but she kind of like adopted that name. So I do think it makes a lot of sense for her to go. And then Grease, I guess being the captain of the ship and his relationship with Cal, kind of like buddy. I could see it happening with him, but I think it'd have to be almost the destruction of the ship, right? Almost like a captain goes down with a ship. Like Cere, I could see literally being into a fight. And any of these, Marin even, right? You imagine them literally fighting with Cal and they get destroyed in that fight. They die. Whereas Grease, he's not going to go out there and battle lightsaber users or bounty hunters, whatever. He's going to be, kind of piloting the ship. So if he's going to do something, it'll kind of be sacrificing himself in the ship so that the others can get away. So it's definitely possible, but I guess it depends how the final act, where is it a battle, like where it's hand to hand, you're right in front of the enemy, because then it probably is not going to be him. So for me, again, I think primary villain is going to die. I do think Cere or Grease, but I'm going to kind of lean Cere for the purposes of this prediction. And then the Jedi, the High Republic potential, I think he's kind of a coin flip. I think it could very well happen. I also think they could save him for the next one. And then the next one, I guess, all bets are off. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. What would your ranking be? Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.